So are you like me? Do you like juicy gossip? A good rumor. But what about when the rumor is probably true? Well, that's really intriguing, isn't it? Well, that's exactly what seems to be the case between two U.S. airlines, Southwest and JetBlue, at least according to Ernest Harvey, the president of Air Insight Group. A great aviation news site, by the way. I suggest you check them out. However, Ernest makes a great case for a Southwest JetBlue merger, and not only that, but Southwest may be shopping other airline suitors as possible merger partners as well. Apparently, Southwest Aviation is in heat. According to the aviation website Air Insight, even though Southwest Airlines has been suffering a poorer than expected financial performance lately, as well as slumping stock prices, Southwest still has an outstanding balance sheet and the financial capital to pull off the merger. Thus, Ernest writes almost gleefully that the industry rumor mill is rife with speculation that they will acquire another airline in 2024. Well, what caused Air Insight, as well as other aviation speculators such as yours truly, to take this idea seriously? Well, I'm glad you asked, because the Southwest Airline Pilots Association recently notified all its members that the union has retained multiple law firms to be prepared in the event that Southwest Airline moves to acquire another airline, explaining that one law firm would likely specialize in labor issues and be looking to consolidate seniority lists. The second law firm would be more focused on what the business aspects of a potential transaction might entail. Still dubious? Well, don't be, because I have the Pilots Association letter right here. Let's read, shall we? Last month, Southwest Airlines Pilots Association decided to retain several law firms if Southwest attempts to acquire another carrier. One of those firms would be an experienced labor firm tasked with protecting SWA Pilots in a seniority list integration. The second and possibly third firm would handle the business and equity side of the transaction to ensure our pilots were invested in the capital of the new entity. In 2010, then SWA president Carl Kowitsky and then CEO Gary Kelly failed to follow Delta Northwest's lead in allowing the pilots to be equity partners in the transaction when Southwest acquired AirTran. SWA will not make that mistake again, the letter concluded. However, according to Air Insight, any potential merger discussions would be covered under confidentiality agreements, and the message about hiring counsel to Southwest pilots indicates that neither the union nor anyone else at the organization has specific knowledge of the merger acquisition plans. The Pilots Association should have included a wink emoji on that statement. So then what is the actual likelihood of a JetBlue Southwest merger? Another good question by you. Well, again, according to Air Insight, Southwest has not so privately been linked in rumors to a JetBlue as well as a possible Sun Country acquisition. Dang, Southwest out there hoeing around. But there is a potential roadblock on the road to wedded bliss between Southwest and Blue, and that is the Biden administration. Because quoting Ernest Harvey, the president of Air Insight Group, the likelihood of a West-Blue merger, especially after the JetBlue-Spirit merger was squashed, and the Northeast Alliance code-sharing partnership with American Airlines was also crushed by Uncle Joe and company. Well, that leaves the JetBlue-Southwest merger with a huge question mark dangling out there. The Air Insight asked, would a Southwest jet merger be considered anti-competitive under the Biden administration policies, even with low route overlaps? Or is JetBlue's delay in announcing its post-Spirit strategy potentially due to merger discussions or Carl Icahn's influence? Oh, so JetBlue is just laying low until the smoke clears to run off to Vegas and marry Southwest. However, meanwhile, Southwest's other side piece and possible acquisition of Sun Country would be a major plus for Southwest, allowing them to maintain an all-Boeing 737 fleet, unlike JetBlue who flies an Airbus fleet. Also, while it really wouldn't have a major competitive impact, the Sun Country merger may actually have the best chance to succeed and get the administration's approval. So could this release of information from Southwest just be their way of taking a defensive position against a possible JetBlue-Alaska Airlines merger? Oh, so the plot thickens. which according to the Insight, that would create a stronger carrier on both coasts with opportunity to become a national carrier. However, Alaska already has their hands full with its Hawaiian Airlines merger, which flies both Boeing and Airbus variants. And this merger, unlike the others killed by the current administration, seems likely to be approved considering that the merger should increase and not decrease competition. Quoting again from the Air Insight president, he says, "Today there are only 4 truly national carriers, Delta, United, American, and Southwest, and that a Southwest JetBlue merger would increase industry concentration, but Alaska JetBlue merger would create a 5th competitor with a truly national scope." But he adds, and this is a big but, and I cannot lie. Gen X will get that one. The Insight said, "We don't believe the current administration would approve a merger," but they added, "You never know, because it is an election year." But the Insight gives this rumor serious credence due to the fact that Southwest Pilots Union wouldn't go to the trouble and expense of hiring attorneys if actual merger discussions weren't in the works. Either way, the union is preparing itself to be ready just in case an agreement is reached. However, the Insight feels that Southwest has stuck with its single Boeing 737 fleet strategy for far too long, which has been made very publicly obvious with the onslaught of Boeing MAX aircraft crashes, incidents, and defects, as well as the delay of the MAX 7, which now looks more like it won't happen until at least 2027 for deliveries that are already years behind schedule. But Boeing leaving Southwest with the inability to receive the right-sized aircraft, plus the fear and passenger backlash against the MAX. But Southwest could choose to finally change its 737-only philosophy by merging with Airbus-only JetBlue, and that would be the best argument for that merger without having to officially embarrass their longtime sole aircraft provider, Boeing. But Air Insight said they didn't foresee a JetBlue-Southwest merger being approved under the current administration, which would eliminate JetBlue and Alaska's potential growth strategies into a national carrier. Plus, they add that by buying Sun Country wouldn't really add any value to Southwest except more Boeing aircraft. And as an added twist, Southwest could also acquire a startup like Breeze Airlines, which would add the Airbus A220 aircraft, but once again be considered anti-competitive by the present administration. And the Air Insight president ended his article by saying that despite the rumored merger interest, we don't see much potential for a Southwest acquisition this year. So reading between the lines, unless there is an administration change this fall, this merger probably will never take place. So there you have it, this edition of the Maximus Aviation Rumor Mill. So what do you think? Will it happen? Could it happen? Should it happen? I know I like the idea, but like the man said, so far anybody who tried to merge under the present US administration has been rebuffed. So I guess we'll find out after November. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all that YouTubey stuff. And I had something else, what was it? Oh yeah, and remember, leave the rubber on the runway and your troubles on the ground. And I will see you next time in the air. Yeah, this is Maximus.